Oh yeah, apologies right from the start about swearing. If you don't like that, sorry.
Yeah,
But
I potentially do that too.
yeah, I'll try and dial it back, keep it a little bit more ladylike. All right, let's roll. It's bang on. So people will drop in as they need to and leave when they need to. And yeah, so welcome everyone to the first New Moon Gathering. This really was a call from me and probably one of my dark sides of the moon. So it's fitting that we go with the new moon. Everyone's always on a full moon, bright light, all shiny and new, completion, victory lap, full moon mode. And I don't want this to be about that. This is about new moon, which is about new perceptions, new insights, new chance for shifts and change, and really diving elbow deep into the dark side of what's happening in our lives, the bit that everyone quite often shoves band-aids on or tries to frantically claw their way out of. And what I want these to be is a place where we can all gather and lean on each other, nod our heads, and get the revelation we need to reflect to really start to digest some of the shifts and change and challenges and all that is dark as well as light in our life. So for me, I had become a bit of a recluse, I guess. In a lot of ways, I was angry, and there was a lot of huffing and puffing and snorting and frustration. In life, I felt like I was walking behind slow people on the footpath every day. And I was really in a balancing act trying to work out what was ego, what was my truth, what it was growing pains that we all have, but I think the more I started to take myself out of my hideaway and talk to more and more people about it, there were more and more women feeling like this, and it was almost like a parting of the sea in the community that we call consciousness, our conscious collectives, our gathering spaces, our circles, whatever the hell you want to call them. There's shifts happening in that, and it's something I, in all honesty, struggled with because I was really questioning like how exclusive of me to call someone more conscious or unconscious than the next person. And so what I did was I buried it all. I bit my tongue a lot. I just started to withdraw from people that I no longer resonated with. I didn't tell them. And I hid and I suppressed and I swallowed it all down and essentially just backed it all up in one big fat constipated soul of mine. And I ran away, and it took me to get to Bali, classic Eat, Pray, Love Bali metaphor moment, to be surrounded by 11 women, which you could call a coven of women, who were a lot older and wiser than me and gave me permission to start really speaking in my truth. And it blew my mind because I thought, okay, what the fuck, I never needed permission. But two, it made me realize that all of us probably needed to have the same conversation that I just had with someone who was brave enough to speak the honest stuff and call out the world and call out the communities and their feelings and what was happening, and kind of give a real honest, genuine narrative of where we are and how it feels and what the hell to do in that. So those of you who don't know, over the last month and the coming months, I am breaking up with the spiritual PA. I am not a spiritual personal assistant. None of us are. I'm sorry for everyone that I ever called beauty or babe. You are so much more than a beauty or a babe. You are all fucking smart, intelligent, empowered women. And so I'm ascribe a spiritual activist. I know what I stand for, and I'm done apologizing for it. I felt so empowered after being with this group of women that I deleted a book. I deleted a whole book that I had pretty much finished because it wasn't good enough for you guys. And what it was, and what I have to completely confess to, is that I was just as guilty as the rest of them for doing what I felt was expected and operating in the flow of nice, trying to please everyone except for speaking my truth, that I'd written another me spirituality book. Well, I hate to break it to you guys. Sure, I love crystals, but rocks aren't my sole purpose, you know? So I promise you that my next book is going to have a pulse and some real truth to it. And this is what I wanted these conversations to be about. So I wanted to come out from behind the pages and, you know, the posts, and actually bare my soul. I mean, Bec, who I'm about to introduce you to, just said we almost feel like we're sitting here with our tits out, like naked for you all. But yeah, so that was my journey. So essentially, after having that experience, feeling like I got knighted by the elders in my community, the sages, the wise ones, I felt, one, compelled to never have a new moon alone, never be in darkness alone again, and two, use this time to really check in. Sure, it can be about goals and manifestations and all that crap, but it's so much more than that, and that's what I want these to be about. So one, I didn't want to be about spirituality and conscious fluff. I wanted it to be about real, authentic, vulnerable stuff, laying it all out on the table, trash and all. I wanted it to be free, so there is no catch here. I just want you to be able to connect and get what you need and leave. Come and go as you please, record, comment, say whatever you want. I just want it to be no rules, because the beauty of you being able to be wherever you are right now means you can be in your undies eating a packet of chips right now, and that's cool. You don't have to show up in your Lululemons with your hairbrush feeling like you need to fit in, because fuck that, you all fit in anyway. And most of all, I wanted it to be about contributing to stuff that's bigger than us. So stepping out of what we think we're meant to be and what we think we want, to really channeling what we truly are and what we truly are meant to serve and serve. So service. So every month, this is going to be generating money for a cause bigger than us. This month is Jane Goodall Institute and everything she does to conservation and for animals. Next month it's for the Tribal Trust, which is about supporting Indigenous cultures, tribes and elders who are vanishing from the world, and also our history. You know, if there's a good cause, if there's a person, a project, a charity, I don't care if it's someone who's trying to make something that's going to change the world, let us know, because this is the whole point about us coming together and making real change, and not just talking about it, but actually fucking stepping up and making the shifts within us and the shifts out there. Because it's all fair and well to say we're mindful sitting on our meditation cushions, unless we're actually behaving and acting on that, then it kind of counts for shit. So that's the reality of why we're here. If you've checked out, then I'm all good with that. What I want to do is firstly call out some of the girls that have come in, and 140 of you ended up signing up for today, but there are 4 of you particularly who have donated bigger than yourself. They are Leslie, Jay, Mallory and Worth. And you were the only 4 that decided to donate to the charity and to show up, but also give back. So that needs special mention. Together we've raised, so every donation added up to the number 9, humanitarian, love, bigger than ourselves, and we're going to discuss love soon. Together that added up to $108, 9. I'm going to double that, but I still want it to add to 9, so we're going to donate $207. So I just want to say thanks for all those people that gave. This new moon. So I do want to get into the energy of the new moon, but that's not essentially why we're here, is Leo. And I've had lots of different perceptions on what this Leo new moon brings. But essentially it's about connection to our elders, connection to our ancient truth, connection to our grandmothers, connection to our true essence, which is love. And Leo teaches us how to love. And I thought that was kind of perfect because we all try to act out of love and we label it as love. But is it really love? And I think that's what we're going to get down to, the nitty gritty, because to be love is actually to be warts and all, and vulnerable and real and authentic. And that love, it takes courage, and sometimes we slap love and light on things just to make them seem less confronting, but that's not the truth of it. So the reason why your featured goddess today is Miss Rebecca Bec Van Leeuwen of Soul Sister Circle is because this woman has actually been in my life for years, and lots of you may not know that, but we met way before we dived our chakras into spirituality. We would go out drinking and talk about boys, and worked in a very corporate office, and we caught each other quite often in the most darkest of spaces, whether that was shifts to new countries, or life shifts into new phases of life, or breakups and heartache and work and just general tribulations of living as a human being in the real world. This woman came full steam into my life, and I have to tell the story of the first time I met Rebecca, because she is like a 6 foot olive blonde blue-eyed model, and she walked in, and I instantly, my ego was just like, who is this bitch? Because she was just so beautiful, and I hated that. And I think as females, that's something that we need to work on. And she proved me so wrong. She has been one of my biggest teachers, and she's been one of my biggest teachers because she hasn't been afraid to straight shoot me, even when she knew that it might hurt. And because of that, she has transformed the way I look on so many things of life. I look up to her in so many ways. I know that I can always get the real answer. She is real and raw and beautiful, and I've seen so many women, hundreds of women, flock to her in Australia. She is a beacon of authentic, and I know that's a buzzword right now, so it's kind of lost its meaning, but she is such a centered anchor in a swirling world right now, and people need her. And so I was nervous whether she would say yes, and at first she wasn't sure. So when she got the call to show up, I was so excited for you girls, and I know that you are just going to lose your spiritual shit when you hear her talk, because it is some deep stuff. So Rebecca of Soul Sister Circle, welcome, say hi.
Hi everyone. Hi Emma. Thank you so much for the incredible introduction. Wowzers, I've got some big shoes to fill now.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was just saying it's so good to be here. Like Emma said, when I got the call up, the invitation to participate, I was unsure, because I myself have kind of been on a 2-month hiatus. I really just went into hibernation for a number of reasons, but the main one being that I just felt quite overwhelmed by the saturation of spiritual consumerism that I was seeing around me, and I just needed to create my own space to really tap back in and discern for myself what was my truth and what was sort of just coming at me. And I don't know that I feel or, 100% there yet in terms of processing, just the stuff that's been coming up for me personally. So I was like, well, I don't know if I'm really qualified to talk, but when I tuned in, I just felt a resounding need to be here and just to share the journey. So, and I'm grateful for that opportunity and grateful to connect with you all.
Yeah. And I love that you say that even that comment, like, I don't feel like I didn't know if I was qualified to talk. Like, I love that, because this is the whole point. And I know that we all have gurus that we admire, but I have this firm belief that the day of the guru is dead, in the most beautiful way, because I just think that we can teach so much from each other, particularly as women that are walking through this. So I know that you have, and you're so humble, so deal with it. You have so much to say, and it's going to be great. So you mentioned that you've been on quite a journey, and I'd love to know how it started and how you got here.
Sure. So how far back we'll go. Let's go back to sort of, I guess, where we met. And because that really was the beginning of my it wasn't the beginning of my spiritual journey. I would say that started way back when I was little. But that was the beginning of my emergence from the spiritual closet. We've joked in the past about how I was like this spiritual ninja, and I led this completely double life where I had, sorry guys, I'm so sick. I had this corporate job, and I sat in a dark edit suite editing, like promotional videos by day. And then by night, I would practice energy healings on my friends, and most frequently Emma, because she was one of my only friends that was open to it. Everybody else thought it was just, I was bonkers, including my partner at the time, who's now, I'm happy to report, my husband. So things there worked out all right. So yeah, that was kind of really the beginning of me, I guess, publicly owning a part of myself that had always been there. And to say that didn't go down wonderfully well would be fairly accurate. I come from fairly conservative roots, so it really wasn't understood or acknowledged or appreciated. In fact, my dad still calls it bullshit. And so I kind of, it triggered quite a lot of pain for me to realize that this really important part of myself was not really celebrated or embraced by the people that were closest to me. So I did what any, person would do in my situation. Well, actually, that's a generalized comment. I can't say that. But you know what? A lot of people that I've met handled their spiritual crises by just getting really drunk and partying and escaping, essentially, just like looking for ways to numb out the emotion that comes with being a sensitive person and being a sensitive person that no one really wants to accept. So I did that for a few years. And then, it all just became increasingly painful. And I could sense that I was really hurting myself with my actions, and I felt so lost. Like I didn't have a clue who I was. My identity was completely married to my job, a job I hated. So I essentially kind of hated myself. And I think, you know, at some stage I just realized that there had to be something more for me. And I found myself in a Buddhist monastery in Auckland.
I just have to point out that I remember seeing you in that Buddhist. You stuck out like a sore thumb. It was amazing. Anyway, sorry. I can confirm she was definitely there. Carry
on. And I just remember experiencing this, like this homecoming, like I'd found my sacred space where I was safe to be who I knew I truly was. And so, you know, as a woman, as it seems, you know, one extreme to the other, I quit my job and I went and volunteered full-time at this Buddhist monastery and was giving tours of the temple and was a PA to one of the monks there, answering her emails and stuff. So yeah, and I took meditation and I did Buddhist studies, and then, you know, that really opened up the door for me to, I guess, move forward. I had tools now. I had tools that enabled me to move forward with less attachment to the outcome and less attachment to how people would perceive me. And it really was then the invitation for me to respectfully, slowly, and but surely step into alignment with who I really was. So then I came back to Australia. So this was all obviously in New Zealand, and my husband is a Kiwi, which is why I was living there. And I came back to Australia, and circumstance threw me straight back into a job I hated that was completely sucking my soul. But, you know, I'd come home and I was back in the presence of my family, and I felt this real pressure to kind of make it. And I probably lasted maybe 10 months repeating old patterns, and before I really thought, no, okay, I can't unsee what I've seen, I can't unknow, I can't go back. And through a long, lengthy process, I eventually trained to become a life coach and started my own life coaching practice just after the birth of my baby girl, and found that seriously hard work. I'd never had a business before, so I actually had no idea what I was doing. I just had this burning desire and this knowing that I needed to help people. And, you know, that's enough, right? Like, no. But so I started my coaching practice, and a mentor at the time said to me, look, you need to go out and you need to network and meet people so that you can grow your client base. And so I would do networking events, and, you know, at the time they'd inside like hotels with fluoro lights and buffet breakfasts, there's like hash browns and coffee that, well, you know, like apparently it was coffee, but it just looked like brown water, and baked beans and white bread. And like, I'm not saying that these things don't have their place, but at like 6:30 in the morning. And, you know, people would push their business cards around the table and try and sell you their website hosting and then keep ringing you. And I just came away from those experiences feeling so disenfranchised and so disheartened, thinking, this isn't me. Like, I'm not cut out for business. I don't do this sort of connection well. Like, I don't belong. And on the cusp of sort of thinking I need to walk away from what I felt was in my heart, I received a huge hit of inspiration. And I thought, you know what, I can't be the only person like this in the world. There must be other women out there like me. And I knew a couple that I'd met online, and I we arranged to get together in person. And what I kind of took away from that experience was just how powerful it is when women can come together and be vulnerable together and share wisdom and share stories and just lift each other up. And it was sort of after that experience, I decided to start Soul Sister Circle, which was really quite a selfish endeavor at the beginning. I mean, obviously rooted in good intentions, but I just wanted to draw in like-minded women so that we could provide this platform. We could create a platform that would provide support and positivity and spiritual and social expansion, and ultimately help to elevate everybody along their journey. And that was 3 years ago now, and here we are.
Wow. Just so you know, the comments have exploded with people saying, "You are so brave, Rebecca. I totally relate. I totally relate. I totally relate." So it seems like lots of people relate.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you started to grow a community. You started to grow in your conscious awareness and explore your spirituality and digest and develop and do that thing, which I'm sure like many of you women right now have kind of been experiencing for the last year or a few years or days or months, wherever you are. When did you get to the point of questioning the core of Soul Sister Circle, or questioning a reevaluation stop in a crossroad?
Okay. There you go. So my children are just running past the window. Hi. Awesome. They're going to the beach, everyone. Okay. So professional around here. Okay, so where to go? So this, I'm gonna go back, and because this is actually, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep talking.
Those of you guys need to, Becs' kids are the most beautiful kids in the world, so this is a real treat. So just part of the whole experience.
They've been particularly quiet for a Sunday morning. I have to give them credit. So I'm going to kind of tell this, I think, through the whole journey of what I've been through with my business, because there's been so many important little points. Now my husband's saying. And they all were opportunities, whether I missed them or took them. So let's just go right from the beginning. So I first received the idea to start Soul Sister Circle about 7 months before I actually did. And when I received the hit, I was just so excited, and it felt so expansive and so right, and it felt tangible, like I had this idea, but I was almost like, this sorry, 1 second. Oh dear. Okay, yeah, it felt really, really like I was saying, tangible, almost like it already had its momentum and its own essence. And that scared me. It really scared me, because I'd never experienced that sort of that strength of energy behind an idea before. And I shelved it. I just really became so overwhelmed by the fear of the enormity of how it felt, that I just thought, I'm not qualified for this. I'd never done events before. So for those of you that don't know, because I actually mentioned this, Soul Sisters Circle, primarily we do events that bring women together. And so I'd never done an event before my wedding. And I just really felt that this was a brilliant idea for someone else. I was convinced that the universe had struck down the wrong woman, and I just buried it. And then I kept coaching in my practice over those sort of next 7 months. And I became increasingly frustrated because I started to notice so many of my clients coming to me who had a vision, or they had a dream of where they wanted to go. They knew exactly what it was, but they just seemed paralyzed to take action. And I would coach them session after session after session. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like, what's wrong with these people? It came to one point in a session with a woman where I was just like, if you're not prepared to do something, like to take action, then this is never going to eventuate. You're never going to create this life. And at the same time that the words sort of came out of my mouth, it was like I got a spiritual bitch slap in the face. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is exactly me. Like, these people are showing up to mirror my internal experience, to show me how I'm not showing up, to show me how I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not taking action. And it was in that realization, like in that moment, that I was like, okay, I'm sorry, but I can't coach you anymore. I can't coach any of you anymore, because I cannot expect my clients to do something that I'm not prepared to do myself. And so I shut my business, and in that space of feeling like an absolute complete failure, I kind of just surrendered to the idea. And because the pain of staying where I was greater than the fear of starting this events business, so off I went, and I created my first event to coincide with the winter solstice in 2014. Yeah. And I had nothing. I had no website. I had a Facebook page, but just pure faith. I had nothing else to go with. Like, I had no experience or nothing. So I just handed it all over, followed my intuition at every step of the way. And the event sold out, and it was magic. Like, it has turned out to be quite a transformational experience for a lot of the women who attended, but hugely transformational for me. And it was so awesome. So awesome. So imagine my surprise after the event, when I should have been riding high on the great vibes and the success of the event, when I went into this really dark place. And I thought, well, that was fun, and Soul Sister Circle will be a one-hit wonder. But for me then, the guidance that I was getting was really about needing to step fully into this work that I had embarked on, and needing to do the work myself, sort of in order for the next visions to come. So it was kind of like this agreement that I went into from the get-go, where I would do the work, and then I would receive, and then I would create. Potentially not the best agreement. Because has it taken me on some sort of journey. So yeah, I would say then I did this dutifully, did my work, followed the guidance to the letter, and continue to have such a beautiful community of women grow around me, and just see so much magic. And I feel so grateful and so blessed.
I'm so doing this right now.
But then came the commercial aspect of having a business, and you know, the necessity to probably like make money for all of these hours that one contributes. And it was something, as I said, I was inexperienced in business. I knew how to follow my guidance. I knew how to put on a beautiful event. I knew how to hold space for women. I didn't really know how that translated into commercial sense. So I got help. I got like a mentor, and started to take on advice. And it wasn't wrong, but it definitely took my focus to another place. And all of a sudden I was now focusing on spreadsheets as well as my intention, but my focus was divided. And this was probably my first wake-up call in creating an event, and it was a huge event. And I had done months of build-up online for this event. We had like 500 people on the pre-sale list, and it would, you know, a big one-day festival in the forest. It would have been epic. But for me, when I launched the event and I stood back, I had this horrific moment where I realized that what was laid out before me was actually not in integrity with the original intention that I was given. And I felt so ugly and out of alignment. And I also felt very fearful because I had my agreement that I would follow it to the letter, that it was going to just flop. And you know, I could have gone ahead with this event. That probably would have been easy because it would have been amazing. But there was just this deep-seated part of me that felt somehow, somewhere along the line, I was in one lane, and I had gotten out of that lane, and I kind of jumped on the spiritual consumerism highway, and I wanted off because I never, ever wanted to be in that space, and I never wanted for Soul Sister Circle to be in that space because it's so much bigger than me and my business. So I very, very publicly canned this event, and in true habitual form, I returned to old patterns and just like ran away from the issue. I put this big announcement on social media and then quickly turned off my phone and jumped on a plane. And to my surprise, when I turned on my phone again, I was just bombarded with so many incredible messages of support. And people were really moved by my bravery, by my honesty, and, you know, that fear of judgment that I had just didn't show up. And yeah, so that was that. That was kind of my first little alarm bell, I suppose, if you will, that made me realize, okay, I have a real duty to stay in connection with what is most important here. For me, of course, right? And so moving on that was kind of like the beginning of the end in a way. The floodgates just blew right open there. And then came this this deep self-inquiry after that. You know, how did I let this happen? How can I prevent this from happening again? How can I stay anchored in my truth? And, you know, what even is that? Because in the course of the year that I'd been kind of operating, I'd grown, but I was still just doing things the way I'd always done them. But then I was sort of caught off guard to realize that the woman that I was no longer the woman that I am. And that now determines how I'm going to show up differently. And I have to tell you, like, that's been going on for a year, more, 18 months. It's been such a process. And in the time, it brought everything undone, you know, like I questioned everything. Every aspect of how I show up in my friendships, how I show up in my marriage, how I show up to my kids. And it was very dark. And then coming out the other side of that, I felt like there were so many things, again, like I said earlier, you can't unsee what you've seen. And I felt like veils had lifted, energy had shifted for me. And I was becoming a lot clearer on what I perceived in sort of in the space of self-help and new age and spirituality, that I was starting to find really polarizing, and stuff that I had totally engaged in 12 months prior, you know, like, so it was, I guess, that shift in my awareness and my level of consciousness now became a real problem for me, because I was like, well, I don't know exactly what that looks like moving forward. And I still don't. Like right now, I'm still sitting in this uncertain space of going, okay, well, like, even, I don't even know if I'm making sense right now.
Yeah.
Like, thinking about who I put on my stage, and just even the gravity of that, you know, because there's been occasions where I've had people deliver really dogmatic messages on my stage, and feeling that as the custodian and as the protector of our community, I take that role with an immense amount of responsibility. And I don't want anybody to leave my space feeling like they're broken or that they need to be fixed. And, you know, I think in this day and age, it's sort of quite common. I mean, advertising has for centuries sold to people's pain. It's a really good way to sell stuff. And, you know, so again, all of these sort of things have been playing in the back of my mind. And like, I wish I could tell you how it works out, because I don't know. And that's where the story ends. No, but it's, yeah. So I guess there is a point. I reached a point 2 months ago where I thought, I have to take a really big step back. I have done what I could, you know, and I kind of did this dance, and I tried to keep tweaking and going along the way. And then I just reached a point where I was like, I need to take a wide step back and go completely remove myself from everything, to allow myself the gift of just being with my truth. And then the process of allowing myself to be okay with what my truth is, and to not feel, and to sort of overcome this human desire almost to give people what they want, rather than what I feel and what I feel guided to provide. So yeah, I don't know. I probably answered quite a lot of things there, whether or not I answered the question.
Yeah, you did. And I think what's so interesting, I mean, again, people are saying to you, Rebecca, you need to hear this. Wow, the way you honor your alignment and your truth, you're so inspiring. Everyone loved the fact that your kids interrupted you, and it just completely reinforced your realness, you know. People that have been putting off things, like Sarah Murphy here says she's been tossing up whether she could do what she wanted because she had kids, and that little message, that little cameo from your kids confirmed that for her. Do you know what's beautiful listening to you too, Bec, is that you've gone through the fear of starting, which is where so many people get stuck. And then you've gone through the fear of changing and shifting and releasing and reinventing. And I think people forget that once you start, you change. What you've started changes, and that's just as scary as fucking starting. So I think sharing that is powerful. And where you are now, that you don't know what the outcome is, and that's honest in itself. So I guess how do you approach every day at the moment when you're in this space of wading through it all? I guess, like, digesting it all and starting to really reflect and look for those answers.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to preface by saying, in the last probably 4 months before I took my little hiatus, I was really miserable. There was no joy in my life. I was drowning. I was, trying to raise 2 kids. I was trying to be a good wife to a very busy husband. My husband's in real estate, so he works 6-7 days a week. And, so trying to be present there with him and trying to be supportive instead of totally resentful, which was sort of where I was headed. And trying to do my business, which, I keep calling it a business, and I feel like that's the wrong language, because it really isn't a business for me. It's my passion. Like, it's something that gives to me so much more than I could ever expect to receive from a business. So, but, with all of that, it was a lot I had on my plate, and I also had some health stuff going on. And typically, when I talk about it like I'm still the same. I'm a real giver. Like, I really give a lot, and I don't give much to myself. And this is something that, interesting. Can I segue here? I'm going to segue here because this is important. So many people will tell me that I'm wrong and that that's bad and that I have a block and I need to, not be like that. And that's fair. Like, I do need to work on that. Because so many, believe me, I've had this conversation with trusted people, and they're telling me all the things I need to do to be different. And I'm like, well, this is my karma. This is my journey. These are my lessons. And there's no rush. I don't need to fix anything immediately. I need to work on giving back to myself and loving myself and filling my cup back up. And, because I feel like self-love thing is such a big movement that you can almost hate on yourself if you don't love yourself enough. And I just think, well, it comes. If you meet someone, if you meet a partner, you don't go, well, I have to love them now. You have to these things take time. So I just want to say that to anyone who's listening, particularly probably the mums who are thinking, God, morning ritual, what? It's coffee. And that loving yourself is really about honoring where you are and being kind about that, being accepting about that. And then that sort of links me back into what life is like for me right now, is that like I said, I gifted myself the privilege of pulling right back because I could, you know, because I'm blessed to not have the worries of financial pressure, because I don't have a 9-to-5 job that I have to go to. So my situation is so fortunate, and it really does lend itself to me being able to have these beautiful little, you know, moments of pause. But so it's really been about trying to quiet my mind, because the first thing that came up for me when I decided to pull back was just so much fear. So much fear around, well, you know, what's going to happen? You've got prior to pulling back, I was selling out events in 48 hours, you know, so it was like, well, you're going to lose your momentum. People are going to start doing events just like yours. You know, people are going to think you're flaky, you're unreliable, you know, all of these things. My mind just served me up this just endless grazing plate of bullshit, basically. But all very, very real, and it felt super real to me at the time. And but, you know, I guess it was, again, it came back to my conscious choice, because it was a conscious choice to make my life about my evolution and not about my business or my impact even. It was really about thinking, you know, there's no joy in this picture. There needs to be joy here, because if there's no joy here, what's the point? And, you know, there needs to be growth here, because if there's no growth, what's the point? And these are things that are so important to me. You know, these are my core drivers: joy, growth, contribution. So when the mind comes in, I try to quiet the mind, and then I try to find those little pockets of joy, those little pockets of peace, and those little opportunities for growth. And of course, when we create this space, you know, it was like this huge invitation to the universe, where I went, finally, she's ready to deal with this stuff. So there's been a lot of healing that I've been doing and continue to do, which has felt really heavy and dark at times, but at the same time quite expansive, but 100% necessary. I've also used the time to learn how to be grateful for the honoring of myself. So this is like my steps, my baby steps in learning how to look after myself. And for me, that really starts with that sort of internal dialogue that I have with myself, with creating that space to communicate with my higher self, and just strengthen that connection, to pray, to just do the things that really make me feel solid. And then after that is like, I guess, the acts of self-love. So then the nourishing food and moving my body and just kind of lots of dancing and silliness with my kids. But you know what? And I say all of that, but then at the same time, there's kind of like this thing happening up here that I can so feel that's coming. And it's just, so even though, you know, to the outer world, it probably looks like I'm not doing anything, And actually, like, it really does look like I'm not doing it, because I actually am not doing anything much, but I'm so doing stuff. Like, I'm very busy in terms of just focusing on this channel and this soul and this this journey that I'm on, and learning how to do that courageously.
You bloody do. Like, all the comments here, the theme is brave, 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 brave. And the reason why it was such an obvious, I mean, if Bec hasn't blown your mind, then what's wrong with you? It's such an obvious choice for this is because I think coming through that shift into finding my truth and where I need to go, and knowing how fertile Bec is as creation and creating ideas and giving them birth and now rebirth. And I think that is a powerful thing for so many women that need to know whether they're stuck or whether they're stuck in what they've created, going through that phasing and then completely owning the dark side of it that not enough people talk about, not enough of us talk about and own. And I think that is the powerful stuff, and that is the reality of it. And I think no wonder we all think we need fixing, because like Bec said, those advertisers, fucking Instagram. I mean, honestly, my life's not that good. Like, I look at those plates of food and that's not what I'm eating, like, it's depressing. And so sometimes I think being able to hear the truth of someone else on a transformational journey, and all the facets and angles that make Bec into such a beautiful triple goddess, and her cycle of who she is so powerful, and all the messages here are just radiating and cheering your courage, Bec. So you are very much doing a lot, and a good lesson for all of us to know that being busy doesn't mean you have to be hustling or out there working your whatever it is. I mean, the girl boss thing, the hustle, no. Like, it's in here, it's in here, it's in here. And if you're not hustling truth, then you're not doing anything. And so I think I want to give Bec, we're about to wrap up, but I want to give Bec one last opportunity to see us out, ride us out on this truth wave, which is given me personally heaps of clarity, and really like washed over all those fears and doubts and crap that I've built up even just from the last week, and reminded me that it is such a powerful place to just own and express the reality of what is. Full stop. So I guess, Bec, I'm going to bring you back up.
Okay, well, you know what? I think, so I'm going to link it back to the new moon, because today is a very, very powerful new moon, and it's a really great opportunity for us to plant seeds of purpose and truth. And for me, intention setting at the new moon is really an invitation to check in with myself. And I often don't even really read into the astrological influences that are happening at a new moon, because for me, I feel like it's irrelevant it's not irrelevant. So let me go back, because I don't want to say something's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. Goodness me, now I'm getting all tangled up in my words. Okay, what I like to do is just feel into what is true for me at the time. So what is my soul calling forward? What emotions are really prominent for me right now, and what are they trying to tell me? So again, this can be shitty emotions. This can be really negative stuff. And it's like, you know, again, I guess if we're talking about Instagram, Emma, you know, like there's a lot of positivity and a lot of really motivational stuff shared on Instagram, which is great, because imagine if it was all doom and gloom, that would be really depressing. But it's also subliminally kind of teaching us that it's not okay to feel like crap. And or if you feel like crap, you shouldn't tell anyone. And, you know, I don't really agree with that. I feel like all of our emotions are very important messengers for us, giving us really, really clear feedback around what's actually real for us right now. And so I like to sit at the new moon and just really reflect on what is it that's coming up for me, and sort of almost then trying to use that to look ahead and go, well, where then is my energy pulling me? Where is it that it's wanting to naturally flow? And it's not about creating a goal or a financial target or anything that I want to manifest, although you can absolutely use the new moon for that. And, you know, obviously then that requires ongoing action throughout the whole lunar cycle. But for me, it's about really creating something that's more soul aligned and feeling that intention. And then often, you know, sometimes I'll then go and I'll look on various different sites at what is the astrological influences, and 9 times out of 10 I'm like, aha, that explains it. But yeah, so I mean, for me, I feel like the most powerful intention that we can have is the feeling-based intention, because obviously our feelings broadcast our desires out into the universe. So the more you can feel your intention, the more likely you are to then be able to, I guess, you know, use gravity to kind of draw that into you. And the more authentic that intention is. And, you know, because perhaps, again, and this goes back to earlier, we were talking about, you know, this tendency for us to look outside of ourselves for feedback or even direction. So if we're looking outwards for, you know, what should my new moon intention be? You know what? Like, you don't have to have one if you don't feel it. Like, because you can set an intention 2 weeks from now or a week from now, because you're a magical creature. The moon is just a really beautiful tool to remind us. You know, I think when we look up and we see the dark sky, it's just a really beautiful blank canvas, an opportunity, an invitation for us to say, hey, now is a time to look inward, look into those dark places and look in, you know, and create from there. Yeah, I guess that's it. Like, you know, and as Emma said earlier, you know, the age of the guru is dying. Well, you know, you've got it all inside you. Like, no guru can tell you more what you need in this moment than you can tell yourself. So I guess, you know, in that regard, it's about self-responsibility and really tuning into you and setting an intention that is unapologetically what is right for you right now. And you don't have to, you know, it doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't even have to be big. Like, my intention for this new moon is really just to keep allowing these old redundant pieces to fall away, and for me to keep stepping into my truth. And that's it. And that, you know, I don't even know what that looks like, but that's what I want to embody, and I know how that feels for me. So yeah, I think that's my parting statement.
Thanks, Bec. I I love like the simplicity of own your feelings, own what you feel, and every emotion is a message. Like you say, anxiety's calling something that you need to heal, you know, anger is calling something that you need to shift, you know, so, and all those emotions come from us, they come from us every day. So truth is powerful, and Bec, you are truth. So thank you on behalf of everyone on all of these. Beautiful message for you, Rebecca. You have just brought so much to all of us on a Sunday morning here in New Zealand, or Saturday night if you're in America. But Bec, you can find Bec at Soul Sister Circle. I'm going to be sending out an email after this with some tips from what she's talked about, where you can find her, some tools to help you get through the next month until we meet again. Join us again next month if it resonates. If not, honor your truth. And thank you for giving us your time and energy. Like, that is an honor. That is an honor. You didn't have to show up. So thank you for showing up. You are beautiful in all your darkness. And I say good luck to anyone who comes across your path today as you're speaking your truth, because holy shit, I'm going out there. So thank you. And thank you so much, Rebecca.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for your beautiful messages and for your support. I feel that. And I just want to say, I want to send love out to you all and say best of luck for the next lunar cycle.
Godspeed, everybody.
Ooh, and then we come into eclipse season. So yes, should be interesting, ladies.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.